Welcome back to the studio. Today, we're going to take a look at edger and beveler tools. By the end, you'll have an understanding of what they are and what they're used for. We'll look at a few of the most popular edger and beveler tools so you can see them up close. And then we'll give you some tips when choosing edgers and bevelers to use for your projects and when you're looking to add one to your shop. So with that, let's dive right in. So edgers and bevelers are hand tools that are used to shave off the square edges of leather. And if we take a look, we can see that leather has a pretty hard edge to it. And so when we take that off, it does a few different things. One is that it's for functional purposes. It removes those sharper edges, leaving it less likely to catch on things when it's being used. But also provides aesthetic purposes as well. And if we take a look at this belt, we could see that these edges are rounded and painted. And so it provides a nicer overall finish and look and feel to it. And between those two, the more pleasing to the eye and the better feel. And then also the more protection to those edges of the leather from getting caught and rubbed down during daily use. Provides some pretty good benefits during crafting. So the edges and the burnishers come in a lot of different sizes and a lot of different shapes and even a few different styles. They're usually made with a metal tip on a wooden handle. They can come with different blade sizes. They're usually made with steel. The woods in the back can vary. Even we see here a couple different wood styles being used on these tools. And so the handle is more preference, and you'll kind of get a feel for those as what you like best and what feels good in the hand. And it's important to keep in mind too that not all of them are the same size. Just as leathers come in different thicknesses, like you may have a thicker leather here, and for an example, a thinner leather here. We want to use different sizes of these edgers so that it doesn't, take off too much of that leather. Because if we take off the amount that would do here, but on here, basically your leather is going to be gone. And so they come in different sizes. That's important to be aware of. Another tip to keep in mind is that those sizes differ based on each manufacturer. So for example, say this is a size, we'll say 3 in this manufacturer. They may make sizes 1 through 5, but a size 3 in one manufacturer may not be the same as a size 3 from another manufacturer. So it's really important to get a feel for the brand that you like, and then the either exact measurements or by using it yourself, get a feel for what those numbers mean for that particular manufacturer so that you can rely on, that edging when you're using it. And similar to clothes, it's best to try out a bunch of different ones, find the ones that you like, and then that'll be probably your go-to, when you're doing that edging work in the shop. So let's take a look at a few of the most popular styles. The common edge beveler. So this one is probably the most common type. It features either a V or a more angular blade on it. And if we look here very closely, you should be able to see there's a blade shape in there. Right in there. And so that's going to vary as well as size. These are standard working tools for, putting that, finishing your edges on leather. They're available in a lot of different sizes, a lot of different manufacturers. So it's important to really try these out and find one that you trust, in terms of its quality and performance, and something that, can generally last for years or decades or even longer if properly cared for, sharpened, and maintained. And as an example, let's do an edge with this. So here we've got our sharp edge. We'll just come here, gently push through it. Now, got a little bit of a roundness to that edge. And if we do that, on both sides of our leather, and then we burnish it, that will give us, in the end, a nice rounded edge overall that we could then paint if we want to do any additional finishing, versus that really hard square edge that we started with. Next up is the leather push beater. So this is a more specialized tool used mainly for decorative work, but it could also have some functional benefits as well. And the idea is to imprint lines within the leather material that are done by this end right here. And so this can basically runs a bead down the leather where it was used. And if we check this out as an example, we can either hold it on the edge to create kind of a push bead of a single line, using this almost as a kind of like a measurement fence. And if we do that, we could see that nice even line on there. And additionally, if we want, and we have a good way to make it consistent, we could push that down and we get our parallel lines. And then we could even go over that and deeper. And essentially it creates those channels along the sides of the leather, and you kind of get that pushed up center area. Now obviously I'm doing this at a unique angle so you can kind of see the process, but with the right hand angle you can get a pretty consistent and even push along that leather that you're working on. And so you could also pull these as well, so it depends on your working style as to how you want to use it. But it's another tool that you may use in your tool arsenal. It's not as common as the others, but something I wanted to show you nonetheless. This is a cool one. It is the French edge beveler. And these are pretty sharp, so we have the safety end on there, so let's slide that out. And they essentially have a more square-shaped scoop edge to them. And these can be used for edging work, but they're typically used for gouging and skiving. But I'll show you an example of how they can be used on some edges. And so here, you can basically set it in and then push it down that edge and kind of edge that off just like that. Now the difference is that you're going to have to be more aware of your pressure that you're applying, because this can go in as deep as you push it, whereas a typical edger is going to be maxed out by the blade length. This is going to be a little more freeform. But like most tools, once you get a feel for it, it can be used for both skiving and edging. The leather wheel beveler is used to essentially bevel patterns into the material. So they usually have a rotating wheel that's on the end of a wooden handle, and that wheel is generally imprinted with a pattern or a design, and that way when it rolls into the leather, either being pushed or pulled, it'll imprint that pattern into the leather surface. And so this could be a handy way to make some decorative patterns along the edges of your leather work. The round edger is a type of general edger, and like we've seen before, we have the more square edges, and we've got a little bit more of a different shape on this one. The round one has a round shape in the middle. So while this is square, the other one has that rounded cut, and that way it helps achieve smooth rounded edges without leaving any kind of lines or marks behind it. They're sometimes visible, so it can be a really nice tool to have when working on finer projects, softer leathers, or smaller items where that fit and finish can really shine through in the finished product. The tabletop edger machine. So this is very similar. It's kind of in the bell skiver world, and you could use it for edging, and depending on what you're trying to do to that edge. It gives more consistent results given that it's mechanized and has very fine-tuned adjustment mechanisms. And variations in the pressure can lead to slightly deeper or higher edges along the piece. And there's two sets of blades, and they essentially sit aside opposite each other on a leather strap. And as those blades are set and you pull the material through it, it kind of edges that material. And so it's a lot faster than using manual ones. Since it's a fixed machine with blades, the edges are going to be even on both sides. And because it's a more mechanized process, it's going to be a lot faster and a lot more consistent. So if you find yourself doing a lot of edging and you're doing it in a higher scale production environment, or you just want more consistent results faster, a machine can help you do that. And those are the main ones. So when buying these tools, what to keep in mind? First thing is, what size do you want? Again, we mentioned that they come in different sizes from different manufacturers, so test out what that is that you need for your different leather goods and have one or multiple sizes on hand. The second is going to be quality. So again, try different manufacturers. With these tools, you may see some very, very inexpensive ones, and just for a little bit more money, not a lot, possibly a few dollars, you can get one that is going to be a lot better in its performance and is going to deliver better final results. And that'll help you enjoy leathercraft even more. Because when the tools are blocking our progress, it's not great. So look for a quality tool, even if it's just a little bit more cost in the beginning. And then lastly, keep them sharp. So these tools, like most tools, work well when they're maintained and kept in good working order. And so if you get a round or a very small, flat sharpener, you'll be able to keep this edge pretty good. Usually they do not come, perfectly sharp from the factory. And so you may have a good tool, though you just need to sharpen it a little differently to get the best results. So always keep them sharp and well maintained. And there you have it. There's the edges and edge bevelers. If you have any questions, definitely let us know. And if you have any experience with these or other types that you'd like to share, we'd love to learn from you. So until next time, keep crafting.